So I'm pretty confident in saying that Osama Sun and Shay are two of the biggest artists in the underground right now. Especially their respective projects this year launched both of them to a new level in their careers. Those projects being Jumpout from Osama Sun, which launched in the early half of 2025, and the most recent album, Rest in Bass from Shay, which came out about a month ago. And even though those albums had completely different rollouts, leaks, and stories they came with I don't want to get into, I still kind of felt the urge to compare those two albums. So what I have prepared are a couple categories in which we will compare those two albums and see which one takes the cake for my personal better album of the two. And after you finish watching this video, did I mention that I made a Mortal Kombat video like a couple days ago? Go ahead and check that out for me. And without further ado, let's get into our first category. So Jumpout is mainly produced by OK and the producer group Draco of M. Group in this case being Legion, Warren Hunter, Sky, My Goat Gyro, and Rock. With my highlights in the view of production being The World is Free from OK, that is the most insane beat, round of applause, Mufasa, and Frontin', also produced by OK. And I can also say that the producers over at Draco of M brought a lot of variety to the album because the most different songs on the album are produced from them. For example, New Tune or Going Dumbo. But in my opinion, those beats don't hold up to the great production from OK on this album. Even though Jumpout has kind of become synonymous with the oversaturation of OK beats. I mean, people are already tired of his production. But in my opinion, Draco of M's beats make it very easy for Osama Sun to lay back and just let the beat do the work. But I think OK's beats actually force Osama Sun to break out of his vocal comfort, if that makes sense. I just think he tries way harder on those beats than on others. But that could be subject to change. Now, unsurprisingly, Rest in Bass has almost the same amount of producers who worked on it as Jumpout. With the producer I could label as main producer for this album being Rock. And the first thing I have to say right here is I was not familiar with this dude's game. Oh my god, these beats are insane. He really brings that SmackDown versus Raw energy to that album with hits like Slam Punk or Hood Famous. This would get a mosh pit jumping. While to say that he's the main producer of this album would be an oversaturation because I think the producers are very balanced on this album. And I think Shay really took his time with this one and let the producers do the most, with people like Nate CXO all of a sudden being in their prime again and producing the most beautiful song I've ever heard. Like listen to this. And of course, you cannot have a modern underground album without having Draco of M at your disposal, with highlights from them being Rolling Stone, Die Young, Dior Leopard, this song's so fire, and the beat on Stage Diver. In my opinion, the beats on Rest in Bass are so much better than the beats on Jumpout, even though it could be a controversial opinion. I think they go way harder than the ones on Jumpout and also fit into this new Shay whole lot of bass sound that he was crafted in this album. So if I would give Jumpout like a 7 out of 10 in terms of production, Rest in Bass would be like an 8 or a 9, just for perspective. Be honest, this is an easy point for Rest in Bass. This is also an appeal for Osama Sun to include features on Psychotic, please. Every single album that this dude had has no features on it. And I think having features on your album, especially or in the best case, bigger names, it's really essential for your growth as a future artist. Especially if you want to do the leap out of the underground. If you look at a better example, Rest in Bass, the most famous song right now out of the album is the song with Xavier So Bass, a collaboration. And on that note, I can also mention Hellraiser, which is probably my most listened song of this year. This song melts my brain every time I hear it, but I like it. And imagine showing Hellraiser to an old head, bro. Instantly losing his ability to hear. So yeah, this point definitely goes to Rest in Bass because Jumpout has no features.
So Osama, add a couple features to your next album.
So people don't call Rest in Bass whole lot of bass for no reason. With tracks like On Fleek or Lip Filler, or with lyrics like I bought my mama a whip off of this rap stuff, the influence or homages or inspirations even to Playboi Carti or other bigger artists that I didn't catch right now are pretty apparent on Rest in Bass, and he doesn't shy away from it, which I like. On the other hand, those references in Jumpout are a lot more subtle, if there are any, and I think OK's production was very new ground. But I also really have to say that Rest in Bass is just like an evolved version of the modern underground that we have right now, and with the energy from Shay to back it up, I think the uniqueness would go to Rest in Bass. I mean, there's a reason why Pantano rated this higher than Whole Lotta Red, aka that album where the inspirations came from. Main impairs really make me notice that a rollout is very important for an album. Don't ask why. But I have to say, even if turbulent and very rocky for someone like Osama-san, I think the Jumpout rollout was very good, songs wise. The music that dropped in between Jumpout and Flex music is the best music that he made ever. I Know What You Did Last Summer, The World Is Free, which ended up being on the album, Just Scored, which was a SoundCloud exclusive at first, then dropped on Spotify. Those are all insane songs. And I have to say the Rest in Bass rollout was mainly driven by the bass snippet, which we would call Lemon Glow because of the sample. Like people on TikTok were like, oh look how crazy Rest in Bass sounds, and it would only be this sample. But also the sample was so good that I was already excited off of this little snippet. But yeah, then it would ramp up and we would get snippets, for example, from Hellraiser and later Hood Famous even. But there are a couple things that left me bitter. For example, the delay that we would have, and I also was not really a fan of the lead singles that we had. For example, Green Day, Love. Oh, Hellraiser was also no, I like Hellraiser, but in particular Love and Green Day, even in retrospective, don't even fit on the album. Like why were those songs released? So in my opinion, this category goes to Jumpout. Rest in Bass's aesthetic seemed kind of rushed to me personally. For the longest time, we did not know what the aesthetic of Shay's new album would be. First, I thought something like the Pizza Time and Miley Cyrus videos, so like, you know, the AI things. I thought he was gonna do that stuff again, but like more advanced. But the more we got into the rollout, the less of that and the more of demonic Playboi Carti opium type stuff. Not entirely, it still has its own flair, but it really reminds me of that. Especially the first cover is very graphic and perfectly puts my point to display. The cover we ended up with also has some remnants of the old cover, but it isn't that graphic. And I love the Love Letter to You reference in the cover. And I have to say that I always liked the aesthetic of Jumpout, or Osama-san's brand in general, and especially the GK and Stan Smith trailers for Jumpout or other Osama-san projects demonstrated the aesthetics of the album in a great way. And I have to say the album cover for Jumpout is probably in my top 20 favorite album covers of all time. So I would say the aesthetics would also go to Jumpout. I'm an impact, so you know my impact. Before I go into this category, I don't want to undermine any of these dudes' successes with these albums. I can already tell you that both of these albums were very successful and boosted both of them above 1 million streams. But if I had to pick one album which really made an impact, I would have to pick Jumpout, because first of all, it has been out longer, so more time to make an impact. And also, I think the rollout and every story surrounding it was so insanely known to people who don't even know stuff about the underground that it's just notable. Like there are people you could really ask them in their face, do you know Osama-san? They would say no. Then you play any song off of Jumpout V1 and afterwards ask them if they know it and they would start nodding. These leaks were everywhere. Well, I have to say that Rest in Bass as an album itself already made a bigger impact than Jumpout. I would say in the grand total of things, including the rollout, because just like I said in the beginning, a rollout is a big part of the album. Jumpout definitely takes the cake in impact. So my last category would be the long run. Which album will age the best? Which album will matter in the long run? And I can already say that Rest in Bass will probably age better than Jumpout. How do I know? Because of the production and energy. The most hype tracks are always the tracks that I find myself listening to the most or revisiting the most. In that sense, I can already guarantee that Rest in Bass will be my rotation for at least a year. While my Jumpout rotation has already shrunk to like 3 songs or something. I only listen to Ref, The World Is Free, and Southside. But again, this category is just pure speculation. I don't know. Maybe I will get tired of this album next week. We would have a score of 4 for Rest in Bass and 3 for Jumpout, which would make Rest in Bass the better album for me personally, so congratulations to Shay. But again, I would highly encourage everybody to form their own opinions and maybe write it down in the comments. And yeah, that would mark the end of the video. And if I start uploading less, it's because I am hopefully graduating this year, so I have to lock in for the next 5 months. So few, if not no video will come. So yeah, keep that in mind, and we will see each other in the next upload, whenever that is. I'm out of here. Damn, I'm lost in the stars.